Hello guys, welcome back again to another tutorial. My name is Dorothy. In today's video I'll be sharing with you how I cut and sew this beautiful princess dart balloon dress. If this is something you're interested in, watch the video to the very end so you don't miss out on any detail or explanation. And if you're coming across this channel for the first time, you are welcome. On this channel I post video on pattern drafting and sewing tutorials. If this is your vibe, hit the subscribe button to join this amazing community. Now let's get right into the video. The material that I am using for this tutorial is this beautiful crepe fabric. This crepe fabric is actually cotton and it is not stretchy at all. As for the yardage, it is 2.5 yards. But if you're on a bigger size or you want your balloon fuller, you can do 3 inches or 3.5 inches. I also have lining fabric that I'll be using to lining the inner and also an interfacing. For this tutorial, I'm using paper gum. You can use any interfacing of your choice. Now I'm going to keep all this fabric aside while we work on the pattern. On the pattern paper, the first thing that I'll be doing is to rule out this horizontal line. This horizontal line is going to serve as the starting line or the shoulder line. Let's call it the shoulder line. For the neckline measurement, on this shoulder line, I'm going to mark 5 inches as the neck width. Then for the neck depth, I'm going to come down from the shoulder line by 3 inches and I make a mark. Now I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect these 2 points together to create a canoe neckline. The neckline you are seeing on this thumbnail is not a round neckline, it's a canoe or boat neckline. Still on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5, so I mark 7.5 on the shoulder line. Then on that point I mark 7.5, I'm going to come down by 8 inches for the armhole length measurement. On this side, I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement just like I did on the shoulder line. I just want to be sure that the 2 points are in place. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect these 2 points together on a straight line. This straight line is going to be the armhole line, and I will also connect this line horizontally like this, and this horizontal line is going to serve as the chest line. To slanten the shoulder on the armhole line, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch and I'll make a mark. Then I will use my ruler to connect this point. I mark 1/2 inch to the neck width just like this. After that, I'm going to measure what I have left. Then I will divide it by 2 by bending my tape rule like this, and I'll mark the midpoint. On this midpoint, I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch and I'll make a mark. Then on my chest line, I'll simply divide my bust circumference measurement by 4 and I'll mark it. The bust circumference that I am working with is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9, so I mark 9 inches on the chest line. Now I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect these 3 points together to create the armhole curve. After creating the armhole, the next thing we are going to do is to mark all our vertical points. So I'll place my tape rule on the shoulder line like this, then I'll come down by 10 inches for the bust length measurement. From the shoulder line to the under bust length measurement is 13.5. I mark that. Then from the shoulder line to the waistline or half length measurement is 17 inches. I mark that. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect all these points that I have marked horizontally. Let me label all these points that I have marked. Here is the bust point, here is the under bust point, and here is the waistline. To create the dart, here on the bust point, I will divide my nipple to nipple measurement by 2 and I'll mark it. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, so I mark 3.5 on the bust line, on the under bust, and also on the waistline. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect these 3 points together on a straight line like this. To mark our dart leg on the under bust line, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on this center front here, and on the side front I'm going to go out by 1.5 inch. Now this dart intake varies from person to person depending on your bust size. So if you have a bigger bust, you might likely mark 2 inches on that side front. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect this point all the way down to the waistline, and I'll also do the same thing on the other side, that is the side front. I'm going to use my ruler to connect that point all the way down to the waistline. On the bust point, I'm going to come down by half an inch. This is just to eliminate any form of pointy edge or sharp edge on the bust area. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect a line from this point I came down by half an inch to this side on the center front, and I will also be placing my curve ruler on this side front, that is the dart leg of the side front, and I'm going to connect a curve line from that point to meet the point I came down by half an inch. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to connect a curve line from this point on the bust point to the mid armhole. So first of all, I'll use a dot line to connect the 2 points together. After that, I'm just going to use my free hand to blend the dot line to create the curve. On this midpoint of the armhole, I'm going to come down by 2 inches and I'll make a mark. Then I'm going to connect a curve line from that point that I came down by 2 inches to this bust point line. So I'll first of all use a dot line to connect the 2 points together. After that, I'm just going to use my free hand to blend it just like I did for this first one. On this line that I just draw, I'm just going to place my tape rule like this on a kind of angle 45 degree, and I'll go up by 2 inches. This is to increase the length of the side front, because when you measure these two darts, you will not have the same thing. The center front dart is usually longer than that of the side. And I'm also going to redraw the armhole curve like this. Now let's mark our body measurement. On the chest line, I already marked quarter of my bust measurement. Then this dart intake here, I'm going to measure it and replace it. After that, I discovered that the armhole curve that I drew earlier was a little bit wider, so I went on to adjust it just the way you see me doing. Here on the waistline, I'm going to divide my round waist measurement by 4 and I'll mark it. After that, I measured this dart that I took, then I replaced it. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect the points together. Now let's go ahead and cut this pattern out. If you noticed, I did not add any sewing allowance to the side of the pattern, but when I'm transferring this pattern to my fabric, I am going to add all the necessary sewing allowances. If you're the type that like adding allowance to your pattern, why not go ahead and add all your allowance, and take note of how I am cutting this pattern out. So guys, our front piece is ready. Let me label it. Here is the side front. The side front you hear me mentioning, here is it, and this side is the center front. So I'm going to keep this aside now while we work on the back pattern. This is the pattern that I'll be using to draft the back. So the first thing I'm going to do is to rule an horizontal line. This horizontal line is going to serve as the shoulder line, just as it was in the front pattern. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark the zipper allowance. So I'm going to come in by 1 inch and I'll mark this from top to bottom just the way you see me doing. Then I'm going to use my ruler to connect this point that I have marked on a straight line. So here is the zipper allowance. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark the neck width measurement. So guys, remember to take all your measurement before the zipper allowance. So the neck width measurement I'm working with is 5 inches. I marked that. While still on the shoulder line, I'll mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5 inches. On that point I mark half of my shoulder measurement, I'm going to come down by 8 inches and mark the armhole length measurement. To get the armhole length measurement, you're going to divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5 inches, whatever you have, that is your armhole length measurement. On this point, I mark the armhole length measurement. I'm going to place the tape rule like this and mark half of my shoulder measurement. I want to get the actual point because I'll be connecting the 2 points together on a straight line. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect these 2 points together on a straight line. This straight line is the armhole line, and I will also extend this line horizontally like this, and this horizontal line is the chest line. To slanten the shoulder, shoulder, on this armhole line I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch and I'll make a mark there. Then I'll use my ruler to connect a slant line from this point I came down by 1/2 inch to the neck width. After slanting the shoulder, I'm going to measure the remaining armhole line measurement that I have. Then I'll divide it by 2 by bending my tape rule like this, and I'll mark the midpoint. Then on the chest line, I will divide my round post measurement by 4 and I'll mark it. After that, I'm going to use my arm curve ruler to create the armhole curve like this. Now let's mark all the vertical points. From my shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 10 inches for the bust length measurement. Then from my shoulder to my waistline is 17 inches. I mark that. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect all those points that I have marked horizontally like this. Since our back is not straight, and to eliminate any form of zipper bulge, on the waistline I'm going to go in by 1 inch from the zipper allowance, and I mark that. After that, I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect this point to the zipper line just like this. To mark the dart, on the bust point line, I'm going to divide my nipple to nipple measurement by 2 and I'll mark it here on the bust point line and also on the chest line. So this horizontal line on the chest line, I'm going to extend it towards the center back so that I'll be able to mark the dart there. After marking half of my nipple to nipple on the chest line, I'm going to use my ruler to connect this point together from this chest line all the way down to the waistline. For the dart leg, I will mark 1/2 inch on both sides on the waistline. Then I will use my ruler to connect the points like this. Now let's mark the remaining body measurements. Already I have marked 1/4 of my bust circumference measurement on the chest line. So here on the waistline, I'm going to mark 1/4 of my waist circumference on the waistline. After that, I'll measure the dart that I took here on the waistline, then I'll replace it. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect these 2 points together to form the body shape. So go ahead and use your own body measurement for this. For the neck depth measurements, remember I mark 5 inches for the neck width. So I'm going to minus 1/2 inch from the 5 inch, and what I have left is 4.5. So on my chest line, I'll be marking the 4.5 inch like this. Then I will use my ruler to connect the 2 points together like this. For the zipper allowance, remember I already left 1 inch, so I'm just going to cross check that on the shoulder line. Then here on the waistline, I'm going to mark the 1 inch here like this. Okay, so now I'm going to use my ruler to connect all these points together just like this. So we are basically done drafting the back pattern, so let's go ahead and cut this out. So guys, these are my pattern. What I'm going to do next is to place this pattern piece on the fabric and I'm going to cut on it. So I'm going to keep this aside while we work on the flare part of the dress. For the gathered fleece on the dress, I'm going to open up my fabric and fold it into 2 equal halves. On this fold, I'm going to measure the length to see what I have, and when I measure this, I had 45 inches. I think I'm okay with the 45 inches on the lower part because on the half length, I already have 17 inches there. I'm going to slit this into 2 pieces, so I'm just going to use my scissors to cut through a little bit like this. Then I will use my hand to, cut this piece into 2 equal halves. I'm just going to take 1 piece out of these 2 pieces and I'll cut out the portion that I'll be using for the half length. So here is the portion that I'll be using for the half length. I'm going to keep it aside. Then the remaining pieces that I have, I'm going to join it with these other pieces to make it a 1 piece. Okay, so I will arrange the both edges together, take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch this. This is what I have after I was done joining the both pieces together. You can use pressing iron to iron it flat. Then as for the waistline, I'm going to run a gathered stitch on the edge, like 2 stitch, and also on the hemline I'm going to run a gathered stitch, that is 2 gathered stitches. I'll be using lining to lining the inner, so as you can see, I've already folded my lining into 2. Here on the waistline, I'm going to divide half of my waist measurement by 4 and I'll mark it. Half of my waist measurement is 30 divided by 4 is 7.5, so I marked 7.5 on the waistline. Then I added 1 inch for sewing allowance. Before I start marking the remaining parts, which I forgot, the first I'm going to do is to mark the vertical points. So I'll place my measuring tape on the waistline like this, and I'll come down by 9 inches for the hip length measurement. From the waistline, I'm going to come down by 34 inches for the length of the lining, although I changed my mind and I used the entire length of the lining. And as funny as it sounds, I later reduced it back to 34. Confusing, right? Don't mind me. Now I'm going to connect all these points that I have marked horizontally. On the hip line, I'm going to divide my hip circumference measurement by 4 and I'll mark it. Then I'll add 1 inch sewing allowance to it. On the length of the lining, I'll measure and mark what I have left. What I'm having here is 13 inches, so 13 inches is the length that I'm marking. Now I'm going to use my chalk to connect all the points I have marked like this. After connecting the points, I'm going to cut this out. For the back pieces, I've already cut out the portion that I'll be using for the back pieces. So what I'm going to do now is to place my front piece on it like this. On the center back, I'm going to leave 1 inch for the zipper allowance. So now I'm just going to trim out the remaining part out. So guys, we are basically done drafting the patterns. Because I don't want this video to be too long, I'm going to cut it here for now. In my next video, we'll be doing the sewing. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do well to subscribe so that when I post the next video, you will be notified. For now, bye. See you all in my next one.